Why don't you introduce yourself, Terry? Go ahead and introduce your family, and then we'll move on down and let everybody. Of course, you both can. Kelly can as well. So, if you would, why don't you tell us? Your names, how long you've been married, and what ministry season you're in right now, and a little bit about your family too, children or anything like that.
All right, well, we are Terry and Kelly Thompson. We will have been married 40 years, June 1st, and so we're almost there. We serve at Small Church USA after leading a church for 24 years. We live in Crawfordsville, Indiana, and the season of life we are in is we are empty nesters, which is a great season of life. And we do a lot of traveling, and I think one of the best things about what we get to do is we get to travel together a lot. And that's very intentional. From our board of directors said, hey, we want you guys to go together. And so that's a real blessing to be able to do that. And I'll let you tell about our family.
We have 2 married daughters, 2 awesome sons in love, and 6 amazing grandchildren. Nice. Our oldest just turned 13, and it's really, really hard to believe. It goes so fast, second generation, down to Emmy will be 3 next month, so from 3 to 13. So we are super blessed, and they all live right beside us. So we have a little compound, so we're truly blessed.
Thank you, Terry and Kelly. All right, Joe, introduce yourself.
My name is Joe Roberts, and this is my wife, Jerry. And we are church planters, and we've planted Connection Point Ministries in Abilene. And it's a great season for us in our life. We've been married for 34 years and having a great time. And God has been good to us. He's blessed us, the church as well, our family as well. And it's pretty awesome to get to be here together for this week. It really is. It's good.
We are also empty nesters. We have 2 kids. Kyle, he's married to Deanna, and Bailey, she's married to Thomas, and we have the opportunity to serve together with them, and that's probably been one of our biggest blessings. No grandkids yet, and we're not rushing that, but we look forward to the day. But it's been really wonderful to be able to serve together in the ministry with our kids.
That's excellent. Well, welcome. Thank you for participating. Max.
Hi, we're Max and Jennifer Kennedy, and we're missionaries to Nicaragua. God's given us a really neat role together in planting churches in northern Nicaragua, where God's allowed us to plant 3 churches and working on a 4th coming up soon, and hopefully many more. But I was a pastor, and she was a pastor's wife for 23 years before God called us to missions when I was 46. So we've been through the stress of pastorate and all of that, and now the stress of missions and ministry together, and we've been married 37 years, and I'll let her tell you about our clan.
So we have 3 kids. Tate and Nicole and their 4 kids live in Boston, Massachusetts. Our middle son, Brady, and Roxy and his 4 kids live in Fate, Texas. And then our daughter, Kelly, and her husband, Drew, and 3 boys live in California, right outside of San Diego.
For a grand total of
11 grandkids.
Oh, that's excellent. Wow, you get the prize then on 11. So over 100, and between all of us, over 150 years here of marriage experience. So this is going to be great. I think these will be great answers. Terry, let's start with y'all, if you don't mind. How long or how do you presently focus on your relationship together in this season of marriage?
Yeah, like I mentioned, when we left the pastorate and started Small Church USA, one of the things we knew is that we were going to be on the road a lot. And a good friend of mine is the president of ABWE Mission Organization. And I sat down with him and I said, hey, like you're on the road a lot, like what's the secret to making sure that you keep your marriage strong while you're on the road? And he said, well, he goes, when we started, a donor came and said, hey, we want your wife to go with you everywhere you go, and we will pay to make sure that happens. And he goes, there's just a lot of temptations on the road, and you want to be really careful, and that just really helps us. And I thought that was great advice. So I went back and talked to our board of directors and said, hey, I really want us to think through this. And they said, hey, that is really great advice. So we want you guys to go together wherever you go. And so that allows us in this season of ministry to travel together a lot. And I told Kelly when we started, I said, hey, if we're going to go to a conference, let's go a day or two early. Let's do something fun while we're there. Then we'll do ministry. And so we came out 2 days early to South Dakota. We ran around the Black Hills. We went to the place where National Treasure 2 was shot and just had a really, really good time. And so we try to do that as we travel together in this season of life.
Yeah, so you have fun. I know a lot of you are on airlines a lot. I tell my wife that an airline ought to be the most romantic spot in the world. So they're always cold. Just snuggle in. Let's have fun, right? We only have an hour and a half or whatever. So it is fun to travel with your wife. I don't get to travel with her because of the age of our children, and she watches one of our grandchildren. So when I'm walking through an airport, I see couples, and I think, oh, man, I wish Kelly could be with me. So what a blessing that is for y'all. So, Joe, how about y'all? How do you presently work on your marriage?
Well, for Jerry and I, we've been married for 34 years, and I was laughing. You were talking about that. She turned 19 July 31st, and we got married August the 4th. I was 15, and and we served full-time ministry before we were married, and it's been a great journey for us. And when we were younger, one of the best things ever for us, a guy that was, we were hanging out with him at a youth camp, and he said, never forget to date your wife. And I really never heard, it was a long time ago. I'm a pretty small-minded guy. And we took that to heart. And so in this year, this season of life for us as church planners, it's been, which we're older and we, we're not afraid. We both work and we do multiple things. And
Sure.
But our time together is priceless. And traveling together, now you're talking about traveling, having fun. My wife purchased our tickets. I noticed that she put me in a seat opposite of her, so she didn't have to sit next to me because she said I take up my seat and her seat. So, but we're happy about it. I was so thankful for God to give me just a great woman. I'm playing, but this season of life for us is we focus on each other, even as doing what we're doing and having a great time together. And our kids are older without grandkids, and for them to be with us is pretty awesome. But our kids know that we're intentional with our time with each other.
So intentional, consistent time.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. So, Steve, I know we heard from the two of y'all earlier. You may have already kind of given us your answer, but what are y'all doing presently?
Well, we two are now traveling a lot together, and there are days when that's better than others. I think we would all agree, right? Because we not only share the road together, we share an office together at the Manna Buildings, and so but that has been exciting to us. We really have enjoyed that, and the Lord has helped us with that. But I think, as we mentioned earlier, the one thing that we have been intentional these last few years is first praying together, and then secondly, when we do a private study, whether it's our morning devotions or a study we're doing, we're now making a habit that when we learn something, we see something, we share it with each other. Man, look what I just found in the scriptures. This is really cool, and we have this discussion. So we're really making it an intentional effort to not only grow separately, and she wants the mic, I got to give it to her. So to grow separately, but also grow together.
I do have to tell this story. The first time he came to me, he said, I was reading the Bible and I found this today. What'd you learn? And I go, do you think I didn't read my Bible? And he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because he'd never asked me that question before. Now it's a good time together. So, yeah. So be careful how you approach that the first time.
That's funny. Max, how about y'all?
Well, we're pretty much connected at the hip. I mean, we go everywhere together. On the mission field, we literally, I couldn't do what God's called me to do without her. I think it's easier now to focus on the time we spend together because we don't have children at home, and it's us kind of there. It's the only person I speak English with on a daily basis, and so that's still our heart language, right? And so focusing on taking those trips to explore a new area for a church plant, she goes. There's maybe, 3 or 4 hours a week we're not together. when I'm doing the construction or going out to check on a piece of property or whatever. But we train our pastor and pastor's wives together. We host people at our home always together, and I just think that that's been the advantage of God calling us a little early or a little later to be missionaries, is that we have a whole lot of time together, and I enjoy her. I really do. I have fun with this woman next to me. I still remember, the day we got engaged, those magic words, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "Yes, Jennifer, I will." And so, no, that's not true. But she still, my heart still flutters
That's excellent.
when I sit close to her.
So everybody's answer included time together, lots of time together. But ladies, I know that's not always been the case. Couldn't, right? You have children, you have families. So how has that shifted? Kelly, let's start with you. How has that shifted over time? Because now you're spending specific intentional time together. But boy, there had to be times when children and everything else, or possibly, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, definitely children get in the way sometimes. So early in ministry, I want to back up just for a second because I was listening to all of the answers, and younger couples, I hope it really, really encourages you. We're all 30 plus years of marriage and ministry, and we're thriving in marriage and ministry, but it took work. And you have to do the work early in the marriage and work on the marriage. We all had to do that, but now we're having fun. But if we don't work on it early, you may not have fun like we're having right now. We all would say, work hard. So early in marriage, yes, we were in youth ministry, and so we were together. We took the kids with us. We were a team. And so we had a blast working with teenagers. When we went into church revitalization in Crawfordsville, that was a whole different ball game. Building a church with 20 people. Our girls were in elementary school. I love to work, and so I was working. So it's like church revitalization and church planting are a lot alike in the sense that it's hours and hours and hours and hours of work. You're just working all the time. So I started, and this would be different now because everything's electronic, but back in the day, we had those day timer things, calendars. I still love a paper calendar. I'm still that. I do both. I have a paper and electronic. But he had a big one on his desk, and I would go in and I would write date day, date day, date day, all throughout the months so that we had that time. Before the kids were in school, if we couldn't afford a babysitter, then we would share with someone else that they'd watch our kids, we'll watch your kids, get some time. When our kids were in school full time and we sent ours to school, that's when I would go in and be like, okay, date lunch, date lunch, date lunch, because again, we had to be intentional. It's too busy. We're just too busy in ministry to not be intentional about this. So whatever season in life you're in, you have to be intentional for this. And that was what we did when the kiddos were younger.
Great idea.
And he gave me permission. It didn't bother him. He wasn't offended. I'm not offended that he didn't think to take me to lunch. We're working together. He's busy. I'm busy. We're having lunch next Tuesday. It's open.
It's a great idea. Kelly and I share a calendar, and we do that for accountability as well.
Yeah.
So that everything I put on my calendar, she sees, and then she's wise enough not to ask me what every meeting is about, right? So when something shows up on the calendar, she doesn't say, hey, who was that? What was that about? I saw you met with this person. But she does see all the time, theoretically, where I'm at. I know some things don't always fit the calendar, but yeah. Shelley, how about y'all? How has it shifted over the years?
So yeah, very much like Kelly. When we had kids young, here was the beauty of being youth pastors, free babysitting. So we'd be like, hey, next youth activity, you go free if you'll watch my kids for 2 hours. So they would come and watch our kids. So we did do that. But there were times when we really couldn't afford it. And you got to find what means something to you. We are movie buffs. We love a good movie. So we would be like, on this night, the kids are going to bed early. My favorite is an E.L. fudge cookie. So I would buy them and hide them in our room so my son couldn't find them and eat them before I got to. And like movie night was the kids are in bed and we would sit and watch a movie and eat E.L. fudge cookies. But it was just, again, intentional, making that time, saying we are going to do this on this day, even if it's something small. Sometimes just taking the kids for a walk, let them play at a playground, and we could sit on a bench and have 10, 15 minutes of talking time, because with the kids running everywhere, sometimes that was precious gold for 10 minutes. So yeah,
Great answer.
be intentional.
The E.L. Fudge date night. Gotta love it. Yes, it does work. So tell me about y'all, Jeri.
Well, our story's a little different. We were married for 10 years before our kids came along, and that wasn't 10 planned years, but it was the way that God's plan, and so it's perfect. But we've always had to be very intentional with our time. I work full-time, he works full-time. We have the church, and when our kids were younger, before they went to school, it was Mother's Day out, it was date lunches. We had to plan those times because we learned early on, if you don't plan it, it doesn't happen. And so that was what we would do. And even now, Sunday afternoons, I'm going, okay, what's our week look like? Monday, we're doing this. Tuesday, we're doing this. Okay, Thursday's going to be date night because that's when it fits in. And but just making time to do that, trips here and there for us. And I feel like it's important to set that example for your kids, for them to see that you, even though life's busy and life's crazy, it is very important to have that time together.
Excellent. Good. So Jennifer, what would you say?
So I guess the big difference is that back in the day when our kids were at home and he was pastoring, we had to make a big effort to plan to go out, or we didn't really have all the funds, or money back then, so I had to be real creative in like watching a movie at night or making a meal to go with it. And now we have to plan to be apart. Really, we love being together, and I don't mean that rude or anything, but like sometimes we will be like, he'll want to go or need to go out to the property to pay somebody, and I could go with him, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to stay home, and he knows, that I need a little bit of time apart because we are like together constantly. Or he'll work in the garage, and I know okay, I'm not going to bother him for like 4 hours so that he has that time to like be by himself a little bit too, because we literally could be together every hour of the day, which I love. If I was stranded somewhere, I would want to be with him all the time. So
That's
but
great.
It's good to be apart.
Yeah, what a good answer. So Shelley, when she said she was going to your mom's? I'm going to my mom. I'm not sure when I'm coming back. That'd be a lot harder for you, Jennifer. So that won't work. Good. So Terry, between the two of you, how would you answer the question of what do you wish someone would have told you early in marriage or even during your premarital that could have gotten things started well? Because I would say for myself, my wife had a stupid husband the first number of years we were married. Immature, spiritually immature, and I wish it actually took the death of our daughter to help kick my tail to think better and think clearer about marriage. So if someone could have told you something early, what could they have said that would have benefited y'all?
Yeah, whatever the next level is past stupid, that would be me. And so our pre-marriage counseling was 30 minutes at a big boy restaurant with the pastor that was going to marry us. And so we basically got no pre-marriage counseling. And we were 22, and we were in love, and we were just going to make it happen, right?
Sure.
And so you put two sinful people together, as they mentioned, and you're going to have issues. And like we just didn't know what we were doing, and you get into marriage and you figure out you don't know what you're doing. and we bumped along for a long time before we finally got with some people that were mentors in our life, and we started getting some help about, how do you do marriage kind of a thing. But I think probably one of the things that I wish somebody would have helped us with on the front end would be the importance of communication. And we didn't know how to communicate biblically and how to work through issues, and all of those kind of things. And one of my favorite leadership phrases that I think works in marriage too is this: when clarity is low, anxiety is high. And when anxiety is high, performance is low. And anytime people are anxious, the performance always goes down. And so in life and marriage and ministry, whatever, when clarity is low, anxiety always goes up. And so I just wish we'd had a lot more help with communication, because it's something you always have to work on, and you never arrive by, okay, now we've got it, right?
Sure.
Yes, you need it every day in every scenario. And I wish somebody would have helped us learn how to communicate biblically early on. That would have helped us tremendously.
Yeah, that's critical, the biblically part. Because, right, we all learn to communicate. We communicate well. Most of the time, our spouse knows at least somewhat, positive or negative, what we're thinking. Yes.
And with the communication part, we bring in what we've learned in our families. And
yeah.
if your family is not a good biblical communicator, that's what we brought in. So we just, communicated like we had seen in the past, and mine wasn't that great.
Boy, do I have fun stories I could tell, but we don't have time, and I'll save myself the embarrassment. Steve, what about you and Shelley? What would you say you wish someone would have said, one of the two of y'all?
Well, at the season that we came in marriage, at least in my perspective, we were doing ministry, and she was second. The kids were second. I had to get ministry was always first. And I know serving, she actually said one time in one of our discussions, she said, I feel like that you have a mistress, but I can't fight this mistress because it's God. It's ministry. And it took us a while to learn through that. And so I wish I would have heard that early. I don't know if anybody told me that, but that's just what I went into thinking, and no one warned me about that, and I wish someone would have. Again, I think we've learned over time, and I've tried to share that with others, that God gave me this woman in my family, and I have to minister to them as the priest of this household, and all those things that I've learned, but it took me a while to get there, and I
Excellent.
wish I would have learned that earlier.
Yeah, wow, good. Very good. Max, what?
Well, I wish somebody would have told me change more diapers. Honestly, not just that signifies a lot of things when it has to do with our kids growing up. I was her fourth child, honestly, the first 10 years of our marriage. I didn't help a lot with the kids, and I always justified that with being busy with ministry. But really, honestly, I was just a jerk, and I was dumb. And I would go home and feel like the most important thing was watching Michael Jordan, play for the Bulls. And one of the biggest regrets in my life was taping over, grabbing a VCR and putting it in so I could tape some playoff game that Michael Jordan was in, and it went over a really important kid video, and that was the moment that I was like, you're an idiot, that's not that important. And now, I'm 57, I've got 11 grandkids, my oldest granddaughter's 17, and it seemed like I'm, at this stage of life that I never imagined being, and then at the same time, yesterday, I tied my oldest son's shoes and sent him off to kindergarten. It literally goes by that quick. So to you young dads out there, change more diapers.
That's so good. So good. All of us, right, I'm watching them shake their heads all the way down the row here. Yeah, good stuff. Joe, what would y'all say?
For Jerry and I, 10 years of being married without kids really was awesome. It was God's plan. We know that. And so we've had a great relationship, because even at the point of, you think you're ready for kids, and we were actually getting ready to adopt, one last thing, and God worked it out. So we communicate. Jerry communicates very well sometimes. and I recognized that. And so
I think they called it a discussion
yeah,
on the end. So yes,
we communicate, and I've learned to listen because I always typically want to be the one doing the talking, and so but it's been fun, and we had some great advice, and it's not so much what I wish I would have been told, but that helped us was besides to always date her, and we love that. I told her on this trip, pucker up, baby, we're going to Dakota, and so we're having some fun,
good.
And we laugh. It's okay. We have fun, but the biggest thing for us was 2 words: don't react, respond. When you're both kind of strong personalities, and even in your church life, your business world, a lot of times, when I was younger, I felt like the way you settle a disagreement is if you have to, is you fight. And in your marriage, that doesn't work, especially if she can beat you up. And so I think it's important that in life we learn really not to react, but to respond. And I have really kind of sucked at that, to be honest with you. Not always done well, and she's helped me with that. And so that's been a huge thing. I'm an organizer, OCD, everything has to be perfect. And we were young, and we married as kids. We had our first little apartment together, and I didn't realize that a woman could have as much stuff as they have. And I didn't have a room to put my shoes. My shoes matter to me. And so she was gone to work, and I organized our apartment, and I really, with a good heart, I took everything that I had not seen her wear and boxed it up in shoes. And in Springfield, maybe you know the Browns, Price Brown, had a great mission downtown.
Yes,
and I took all of her stuff. I know, I can admit stupidity, but I thought I was helped. Like I was so proud, and I took her stuff there to Price and came home, and I said, baby, I organized our apartment. She said, wow, it looks good. She said, where's my shoes? Where's my stuff? And I said, all your stuff, I don't feel like you use anymore. We donated, like we're godly. We given to people that need it. And I said, I took it to Price Brown. Oh my, we communicated. we really communicated. React, not respond. But I went very quickly to Price, and I walked in, and the whole place is laughing when I come back in a couple hours later, and I'm so worried some of it's going to be gone. And Price said, we knew you would be back. And I feel like that was something God used to help us, because now we laugh. Well, sometimes we laugh about it still to this day, but it's been an awesome journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But don't react, respond, and make sure that you're doing it the way you're supposed to be doing it.
Oh, that's good.
I know that's good, right?
Hey, we just have a couple minutes, so let me throw this out for anybody who wants to answer. I think when I do a lot of premarital and when I do a lot of counseling, couples forget that when you're one flesh, you're not just one flesh in marriage, but you're one flesh also on the journey toward Christ-likeness, right? You are all the one another commands, 37, I think, 31 of them probably connect with marriage. Sometimes we forget that our closest partner, the one that we're supposed to be best sanctified with, is the person that lives with us and that we get to do marriage with. So anybody have any advice or anything you would share with how have you found it best? They mentioned earlier, Switzers, that they're praying together, right? That is a one another. That's a beautiful. When y'all mentioned that, I thought, oh, there's the answer to our question. But how would y'all say? Is there something in the one another's, or is there a particular thing you've done to try to practice those together as a couple?
I always think of the bear one another's burdens. And, as a pastor's wife, missionary wife, I will listen to stories and, I'll carry that and I'll check on them. But it wasn't too long after all the debacle we had, I realized, like, when he gave me a burden and would share something with me, I would kind of dismiss it and be like, well, that's his burden to carry. And I didn't take up and be like, that's my burden to carry with him. I am his battle buddy. And to check on him and to ask how he's doing with this and how has this person affected you today? And like, so we have learned to do that,
Excellent.
bear one another's burdens. Yeah.
Oh, that's
really
good.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just mention one. One of the things that we talk with pastors in Small Church USA about is whether or not our wives feel any unrealistic expectations being a pastor's wife. And we talk about, does the church put any unrealistic expectations on them? But then we also ask this question, am I putting any unrealistic expectations on them and not loving them and encouraging them like I should? And that's one thing that that I've learned with Kelly is, like, I love to be up front. I love to have her microphone in my hand and be in front of people. She doesn't. And I used to volunteer her to speak, right? And she's really good at it. When she does it, people love it. But it wrecks her life, which means it wrecks my life, you know. And so I had to come to the realization that I'm wired differently than she is. And like, I can't put expectations on her beyond her gifting and abilities of what God has gifted her to do.
That's good.
And I think sometimes as pastors, maybe we do that to our wives, and we got to be really careful not to do that to our wives, because it's not loving, it's not encouraging, it's not a lot of the one another's when we do that to them. And so if I've had to learn that, because I'm that next level past stupid or whatever you called that earlier. So
Well, I can tell you the location and the situation we were in when I learned not to do the same thing. So I would say I got it. I learned my lesson as well. You said used to, and I'm with you. Joe, anything from the two of you?
Were we talking about? No.
Just
Yeah.
learning to
I feel like, you know, for us, that oneness is,
serving.
you're going to have those burdens and problems. You know, my personality is to hear an issue or a problem, and then while they're speaking, I'm already formulating a plan for you to get through this. I'm going to fix your problem. And Jeri told me one of the best things she's ever said to me that maybe could be good for you. She said, I don't need you to fix my problems. I need you to love me and listen to my problems. And I said, okay. But if you need an answer, come back. And I think that's helped us. You know, Jeri is always, honestly, because I can be all over the place, she has been an anchor. God has used her as an anchor for me.
Jennifer, you, Max, have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I haven't always been really good in the past, you know, with words of encouragement. But we, like several years after we were pastoring, we took a class with the His Needs, Her Needs. And I realized, you know, that was a big need that he had, was having words of encouragement, building them up, you know, and in the way that God would want me to, you know. And so that's something that I've been learning, like even over the years, is to remember to offer words of encouragement to him, you know, after a hard day that he's done something or spoken or whatever. And it's hard for me to come out and just say stuff like that, but I have tried to be better at that over the years, you know. And then helping or being a part of his dreaming big, because he's like a big dreamer, you know, and he wants to do a lot for the Lord, and sometimes I hold back on that, you know, and not always there, but I want to dream big with him.
So being very intentional
Yes.
in what you're saying and what you're even thinking. Excellent. Good. Can you give them all a big hand? Well, this has been fantastic. Thank y'all so much.